Hello everyone. Today I would like to try to work with you on how to make something out of aluminum foil. Some of you may have seen videos or pictures of various art forms that I've made in the past. We're going to start with something relatively simple, and I will try to explain the concepts behind the working with aluminum foil as we go along. Here's a piece of aluminum foil. You'll notice that it's roughly square shaped. We don't need anything exact. This is not origami. This is a much more free-form art. Very easy to do. Now, when working with aluminum foil, it's important to understand that you do not want to crush the aluminum foil too much, usually. If you smooth it out too much, like I just did now, you can end up with something very thin that's very hard to work with. If you press things more gently and you make objects that are fluffier, it's afterwards a lot easier to go and depress them into the shape that you want and work out the finer details. Now, what we're going to try to make is a dog. A dog is a prototype or symbolic of any four-legged creature, because obviously all four-legged creatures are more or less the same in their construction. Just the difference is the size of the legs and the size and shape of body and tail. So let's start with that. You'll notice that I folded two corners. That means I have four corners here with a little bit more thickness. These will be the places where we will create our legs. The two larger triangles will serve for the head and the tail. Okay, now the way you make a leg is you start from a corner and you sort of gently pinch without crushing too much to the size that you want. Exactly what size you want, that's something that you will learn with experience. Usually for four-legged animals, you should probably go for shorter than what you think rather than longer than what you think, so that initially, so you'll get a better shape. Notice that I'm being very gentle in how I'm pinching this aluminum foil so that I have a limb that has thickness. Okay, making it too short is also another common mistake. That's what happens if people pinch also lengthwise. Pinch only along the width to make a longer strip. Okay, now we have four limbs, as you can see. We have a head part, which is slightly larger, and a tail part, which is going to be smaller. That's because we need a lot more material for the head than for the tail. Now we can unite the legs, you see. Here are the four legs. We can shape the body somewhat. Again, the more we avoid pressing the aluminum foil and leaving it fluffy, the easier it will be for us to manipulate afterwards. The next thing we do is we take one part, let's say the part that we want for the head, and we shape a head. Now you see, because I'm being very gentle with it, so we can make something that has a nice, relatively dog shape. And as for the ears, that involves a little bit of pinching already, because that's already forming more specific parts, which do require placing more pressure on the aluminum foil. And we have two ears, you see. Okay, and now the next step is the tail. Well, we shape the body. And you see we have a lot of extra material here, so we're probably going to have to shorten that. Here are the legs. There are two ways of shortening. We can either make the tail and then cut off part, or we can fold in the tail. I personally prefer folding in the tail because that gives us more material to work with in the body if we're going to need it. See, once you press things hard, you can make things very thin. This is more material that was used in the leg, but it's significantly thinner and shorter because we pressed a lot harder. That's the danger of not being gentle enough with our aluminum foil. And once we finish shaping it, we have a nice little doggy. Okay, the square I used was roughly 9 centimeters across on either side. Obviously, you can use the same technique for any size. My maximum limit personal limit has been about 1 centimeter to the side. I can probably do a little bit smaller than that, though not much. That's a limitation of my fingers. Seeing as this particular dog lacks significant details like eyes and things like that, obviously if you make it bigger, you're going to want to put in more details to improve the overall look of things. But there we go. Woof woof.